Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the semi-final G2 up against the ROX Tigers. We've got a full game remake and we are ready to jump into this one and get this semi-final sorted.
I know everyone has been patiently waiting, and we want to thank you guys here in the Spodek Arena for being a fantastic crowd. But here we go, G2 Esports versus the ROX Tigers.
We are on to Summoner's Rift. The game is underway. We've had a remake, we've resolved the technical issues, and now it's down to the gameplay itself. Europe up against Korea once again. We had a complete redraft, exactly the same team compositions. Where has our focus got to be on this one, Vidius?
Well, for the time being, it looks like that G2 is even mimicking the same strategy that they went with in game one. They're going for a complete mirror play.
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. Mickey posturing towards G2 are either going to make a move. The tension is killing me much.
He wants that deep ward. He wants to go for it. He will be punished very heavily if he does. I don't think he's going to slither on in this early. It would be
cheeky, Mickey.
He's not going to go for it. He's going to back away. And we're going to have standard starts across the board. But I want to take a look towards the bottom half, because earlier we've been talking a lot about the jungles, about the mid laners, about the tops. We didn't really talk in depth about this bottom lane match. Obviously, the Kench has been unbenched here for Mithy, alongside a Sivir, and it's against the Jhin and Thresh.
Now, this is a pick that Mithy has brought out many a time during the LCS, and throughout his professional career, it's actually a champion that he doesn't get a huge amount of recognition for, arguably, but he's actually incredibly good at it. His positioning in fights, the way in which he's always looking to peel for his AD carry is impressive to watch. The map movements that he makes using the ultimate,
that's beautiful.
Very enjoyable. And you can see a deer in the distance, just appreciating Mithy's Tahm Kench.
Yeah.
That's how valued he is. But more so, this is also considered one of, if not the greatest bottom lane in the West, or that the West has to offer. And there has been a couple of arguments against that, given their recent performances, as you see a bit of trading down in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Key going aggressive, but Sven trading the damage back again. And that's a big conversation right now, is are Sven and Mithy kind of worthy of that title? And this tournament for them is a great opportunity to prove that fact and to kind of make their mark once again, and I guess say no to the haters.
Because remember that it was Sven and Mithy that ended up dying in the 2 versus 2 against the bottom lane of the Flash Wolves. Definitely not something that a lot of people were expecting from them. And in their series against the Unicorns of Love, it was this bottom lane that kept getting caught out of position. It was difficult for them to deal with the hard engage comp that UOL had drafted. And that's what made it so difficult for Perkz to go into a side lane with that Zed. So we're still yet to see whether or not, like, how dominant can they be. Their laning phase has been very solid. And now he's on the Tahm Kench, we're on the Sivir. We're going to really see their ability to have big impacts in these team fights later on, and their ability to make plays around the map.
Yeah, once again, we have to talk about how influential Trick and Song Hwan will be in this game. You know, the Graves and the Rengar, two very aggressive junglers once you get to the correct point in the game. Trick especially on his signature champion, that Graves. We'll see where he's actually going to put his focus, because obviously we've already seen this game start once before, and he focused very heavily on Expect, on making sure that the Shen got rolling up against the Gangplank.
It's looking very similar to game one, I would argue much. It's a bit of a gentleman's agreement.
Like it's a remake.
But as you correctly identified, Trick is hanging around the top side. This time, Linderang not being put under quite the same pressure that he was under in game one. Expect playing a little bit more reserved, given that he doesn't know his jungler is available. You can see as well, Mickey getting a bit of an aggressive push down in the mid lane. Now in game one, he was able to utilize this fact to get a bit of deep vision in, make a quick map movement down to the bottom half of the map, and it seems that ROX are investing their vision once again around the bottom side of the jungle. This is something that you'll see Song Hwan and Mickey do a lot, where Mickey provides the initial vision, then Song Hwan gets the deeper vision in the bottom half, but this time Trick is there to answer.
Yeah, Lantern to safety though, Key. He knows where his jungler is and will pull him out of that sticky situation. Nice little bit of a collapse from G2, but ultimately nothing going to come of it. And Song Hwan once again going in. He comes out of the back door and straight back into the front. He's going to look for the Raptors.
This should be a pretty easy invade for Seonghwan to get away with. He has full vision control over the bottom side of the map. This is a play style that he is used to. He likes to go aggressive early on into the game, try and steal away some camps, but Tricky's going to face check.
Certainly is. Seonghwan going for it, though. We've got a 1v1 between the junglers. Trick actually missing his end of the line, and he might have hit the end of the line. First blood goes the way of ROX Tigers.
A big advantage being gained for Seonghwan, and this is a big part of their success throughout the LCK. The ROX Tigers rely so heavily on their jungler being able to get early advantages. All of that early vision control in the bottom half of the jungle really paying off for Seonghwan, and he's able to get a 1v1 kill.
Yeah, and that's bad news for G2. This is a team that we're used to really controlling this early game, making sure it is slow-paced and they can kind of just stall out until the mid-game without losing too much, already putting themselves at a disadvantage in that trade.
Now for Trick, he's going to have to find some way to get back into this because Seonghwan, he's going to get that level 6 first. He could look to set up a gank in the bottom lane. He could even look to set up a gank onto Perks. There are many options available to him. And now Mickey's level 6. It becomes even harder for G2 to push down the mid lane. It is only a very minor gold advantage in the favor of ROX early on, but it's a big swing in momentum because that Rengar is going to be able to have so much more of an impact now earlier on.
You say it's a minor advantage, but with CS numbers across the board and everything, we've actually got a 1k gold lead for ROX, which is more significant than just the first blood would usually be. ROX doing a good job, getting off on the right foot here in this series, and you got to commend the players on kind of staying calm, staying, I guess, sound mentally in this kind of situation when they've been kind of back and forth between the game, whether they're actually going to be playing or not, and then ROX had an advantage, and then it's going to be gone and been remade, but still staying on top of their game and getting control.
The interesting thing about this current matchup is that the mid laners haven't yet backed. We actually see a bit of trading in the bottom lane.
Mithy will be hooked up underneath the tower, does have his grey health. Actually flashing further under, needs to pop his shield, will be able to pop it up at the last second, but Seonghwan's found Sven at the same time, gets the assassination. Mithy walking up towards the mid lane. Sang-Yoon lands the shot. There's Linderang to chime in as well. In the meantime, though, he's in trouble himself. Flashes out to safety, and ROX are 3-0 up.
Great gank down in the bottom lane, the level 6 being hit for Seonghwan. He wanted to utilize the fact that G2's bottom lane was pushing so hard. They decide to go aggressive, and G2 are forced to split up, but I have to question what Sven was trying to do in that lane. Going back right in the middle, he had his tower available.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the semi-final. G2 up against the ROX Tigers. We've got a full game remake and we are ready to jump into this one and get this semi-final sorted.
I know everyone has been patiently waiting, and we want to thank you guys here in the Spodek Arena for being a fantastic crowd. But here we go, G2 Esports versus the ROX Tigers.
We are on to Summoner's Rift. The game is underway. We've had a remake, we've resolved the technical issues, and now it's down to the gameplay itself. Europe up against Korea once again. We had a complete redraft, exactly the same team compositions. Where has our focus got to be on this one, Vidius?
Well, for the time being, it looks like that G2 is even mimicking the same strategy that they went with in game 1. They're going for a complete mirror play.
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. And Mickey, posturing towards G2, are either going to make a move. The tension is killing me much.
He wants that deep ward. He wants to go for it. He will be punished very heavily if he does. I don't think he's going to slither on in this early. It would be
cheeky, Mickey.
He's not going to go for it. He's going to back away. And we're going to have standard starts across the board. But I want to take a look towards the bottom half, because earlier we've been talking a lot about the jungles, about the mid laners, about the tops. We didn't really talk in depth about this bottom lane match. Obviously, the Kench has been unbenched here for Mithy, alongside a Sivir, and it's against the Jhin and Thresh.
Now, this is a pick that Mithy has brought out many a time during the LCS, and throughout his professional career, it's actually a champion that he doesn't get a huge amount of recognition for, arguably, but he's actually incredibly good at it. His positioning in fights, the way in which he's always looking to peel for his AD carry is impressive to watch. The map movements that he makes using the ultimate,
that's beautiful.
Very enjoyable. And you can see a deer in the distance, just appreciating Mithy's Tahm Kench.
Yeah.
That's how valued he is. But more so, this is also considered one of, if not the greatest bottom lane in the West, or that the West has to offer. And there has been a couple of arguments against that, given their recent performances, as you see a bit of trading down the bottom lane.
Yeah, Key going aggressive, but Sven trading the damage back again. And that's a big conversation right now, is are Sven and Mithy kind of worthy of that title? And this tournament for them is a great opportunity to prove that fact and to kind of make their mark once again. And I guess say no to the haters.
Because remember that it was Sven and Mithy that ended up dying in the 2 versus 2 against the bottom lane of the Flash Wolves. Definitely not something that a lot of people were expecting from them. And in their series against the Unicorns of Love, it was this bottom lane that kept getting caught out of position. It was difficult for them to deal with the hard engage comp that UOL had drafted. And that's what made it so difficult for Perkz to go into a side lane with that Zed. So we're still yet to see whether or not, like, how dominant can they be. Their laning phase has been very solid. And now he's on the Tahm Kench, we're on the Sivir. We're going to really see their ability to have big impacts in these team fights later on, and their ability to make plays around the map.
Yeah, once again, we have to talk about how influential Trick and Song Hwan will be in this game. You know, the Graves and the Rengar, two very aggressive junglers once you get to the correct points in the game. Trick especially on his signature champion, that Graves. And we'll see where he's actually going to put his focus, because obviously we've already seen this game start once before, and he focused very heavily on Expect, on making sure that the Shen got rolling up against Gangplank.
It's looking very similar to game one, I would argue much. It's a bit of a gentleman's agreement.
Like it's a remake.
But as you correctly identified, Trick is hanging around the top side. This time, Linderang not being put under quite the same pressure that he was under in game one. Expect playing a little bit more reserved, given that he doesn't know his jungler is available. You can see as well, Mickey getting a bit of an aggressive push down in the mid lane. Now in game one, he was able to utilize this fact to get a bit of deep vision in, make a quick map movement down to the bottom half of the map, and it seems that ROX are investing their vision once again around the bottom side of the jungle. This is something that you'll see Song Hwan and Mickey do a lot, where Mickey provides the initial vision, then Song Hwan gets the deeper vision in the bottom half, but this time Trick is there to answer.
Yeah, Lantern to safety though, Key. He knows where his jungler is and will pull him out of that sticky situation. Nice little bit of a collapse from G2, but ultimately nothing going to come of it. And Song Hwan once again going in. He comes out of the back door and straight back into the front. He's going to look for the Raptors.
This should be a pretty easy invade for Song Hwan to get away with. He has full vision control over the bottom side of the map. This is a play style that he is used to. He likes to go aggressive early on into the game, try and steal away some camps. But Trick is going to face check.
Certainly is. Song Hwan going for it though. We've got a 1v1 between the junglers. Trick actually missing his end of the line, and he might have hit the end of the line. First blood goes the way of ROX Tigers.
A big advantage being gained for Song Hwan, and this is a big part of their success throughout the LCK. The ROX Tigers rely so heavily on their jungler being able to get early advantages. All of that early vision control in the bottom half of the jungle really paying off for Song Hwan, and he's able to get a 1v1 kill.
Yeah, and that's bad news for G2. This is a team that we're used to really controlling this early game, making sure it is slow-paced and they can kind of just stall out until the mid-game without losing too much, already putting themselves at a disadvantage in that trade.
Now for Trick, he's going to have to find some way to get back into this, because Song Hwan, he's going to get that level 6 first. He could look to set up a gank in the bottom lane. He could even look to set up a gank onto Perkz. There are many options available to him. And now Mickey's level 6. It becomes even harder for G2 to push down the mid lane. It is only a very minor gold advantage in the favor of ROX early on, but it's a big swing in momentum, because that Rengar is going to be able to have so much more of an impact now earlier on.
You say it's a minor advantage, but with CS numbers across the board and everything, we've actually got a 1k gold lead for ROX, which is more significant than just the first blood would usually be. ROX doing a good job getting off on the right foot here in this series, and you got to commend the players on kind of staying calm, staying, I guess, sound mentally in this kind of situation when they've been kind of back and forth between the game, whether they're actually going to be playing or not. And then ROX had an advantage, and then it's going to be gone and been remade. But still staying on top of their game and getting control.
The interesting thing about this current matchup is that the mid laners haven't yet backed. We actually see a bit of trading in the bottom lane.
Mithy will be hooked up underneath the tower, does have his grey health. Actually flashing further under, needs to pop his shield, will be able to pop it up at the last second, but Sangwon's found Sven at the same time, gets the assassination. Mithy walking up towards the mid lane. Sangyun lands the shot. There's Linderang to chime in as well. In the meantime, though, he's in trouble himself. Flashes out to safety, and ROX are 3-0 up.
Great gank down in the bottom lane, the level 6 being hit for Sangwon. He wanted to utilize the fact that G2's bottom lane was pushing so hard. They decide to go aggressive, and G2 are forced to split up, but I have to question what Sven was trying to do in that lane. Going back right in the middle, he had his tower available, there were many safer options for him to take, and he doesn't respect the Rengar. He ends up getting heavily punished for it, and now Sangwon, the individual that has been a key part in ROX's success throughout the LCK, is 2-0-0 and is level 7 on a Rengar.
Yeah, and this is, you know, we talked about it in the first version of this game. Rengar usually doesn't have a great effect until he's level 6. Most of this has been pre-6 effectiveness. Now, getting a Mountain Drake on top of everything else, a fantastic objective to pick up early. Almost a 2,000 gold lead, and we're just 8 minutes in.
This is not a great start for G2. They do have a good scaling composition, and it's something that you always have to factor in. Their ability to team fight later on into the game is something that you really cannot ignore. But the ROX Tigers have demonstrated that once they get a lead, they know exactly what to do with it. And the fact that Sangwon, as mentioned, already 2-0, as we see Mickey.
Yeah, it's going aggressive onto Perks here, trying to find the kill. Exhaust comes out, and Perks forced to use his package.
Very aggressive play coming out from Mickey in the middle lane, utilizing the miasma to prevent Perks from taking advantage of his escapes with the Valkyrie. Mickey just taking advantage of the fact that he's also got that early level 8. So again, constant aggression coming out from the side of ROX. Now G2 looking to make a rotation round mid.
And also denying any kind of map play coming out from Perks, forcing that package to be used defensively. Taking an advantage that way. Perks will be able to shove that lane in, but Mickey once again finding any opportunities to just layer that damage in and make sure that Perks can't go where he wants to be.
Well, now that Mickey is going to go pick up his blue buff, this will allow Perks to shove in the mid lane. He needs to go back now because he's already been forced to use his exhaust. If the Rengar were to gank mid lane, he'd be in a bit of trouble. But the fact that Rengar is so strong gives ROX a lot of options, because they can look to set up dives. If you even remotely overextend in any of the side lanes, it's super easy for Sangwon to just come in from the flank and set up the initiation. They have so much control of the map right now, and I love the way in which ROX are just constantly pushing up their vision. They're always moving in aggressively, making sure they have full control over the bottom half of the map, and this is going to better set up for them to be able to take this early tower down in the bottom lane.
Fans here making sure to keep themselves happy. Sven, this is him getting caught out in that bottom lane, and just the speed at which he can just obliterate players this early on in the game. Nice ult there from Linderang as well. Or Linderang, sorry. Just to finish off that kill. And that's netted the ROX Tigers a pretty significant advantage. And as you rightly said earlier, it's what they can do with that. And where they're going to pressure for this first brick, because we've yet to see any towers go down.
Well, the bot lane is the main focus, because ROX are actually getting a good push down in the bottom lane because they know they have the jungle support. He has full vision control over the bottom side of this jungle. Mickey also has a constant push, so he can look to make a roam down the bottom lane. They might look to dive this mid lane right now, though.
Perks posturing very defensively. I think he smells a rat on this one. They won't go for this right now. Sangwon deciding bit of a risky play to really force.
You can see the movement's coming out. They know exactly where the vision is.
They know that Sven's going to be trying to get back into lane. He has to be very careful right now. Oh, Mickey coming back into this mid lane, wants to aggress onto Perks once again. This has been the story of the mid lane, just Mickey pushing forward very aggressively, and Perks just has to back away.
And now if you're G2, you need to look at avenues back into the game, right? Because with this sort of a goal deficit this early on into the game, naturally things are not looking bright. ROX have many more avenues in which to start breaking down these towers. But if you're G2, you still have the Shen ultimate available too. You still have the fact that Graves does a lot of early game damage, and you only need ROX to overcommit ever so slightly to an objective, and with which you can then suddenly punish them. You also have Mithy on this Tahm Kench to force very quick rotations, perhaps topside, perhaps bottom. And what could be a good option for G2 is to make a map movement around topside. If they know they're going to lose this bottom tower, then they just try and force the play up top, because you can see that Expect is actually pushing pretty effectively against Linderang. Alternatively, they can just choose to stall out the game for as long as possible. They know they scale very well. They know they have a potent team fighting comp that it fits very nicely into taking down structures themselves. They just need to be patient, right? There's no need to be suddenly rash and try and force something, especially with ROX, given how much of an advantage that they do have.
Yeah, Songhan heading down towards the bottom side of the map there, was looking for a way into the lane, but he's changed his mind, going to go over towards the Gromp and take some control of this river as well. Next Drake will be mounting as well. Oh, here we go, the cinematic camera work. This Trick will clear away the control ward. But 1 minute, 10 seconds till the next Drake. Mithy's been found though. Key gets the lockdown. Ultimate will be popped as well. Mithy with a nice splash, but he's in the wrong side of the map. And in the meantime, Sven's found himself all alone. Stand United will come on through. Mithy's pulled himself to safety. And now G2 trying to get the re-engage. They're not going to find a target though. Have to back away.
Sven and Mithy are able to get away from this gank, but it is going to cost them 2 flashes at the cost of Sangwan's flash himself. Expect has also been forced down to the bottom lane, but fortunately he does have his TP to be able to return, and so they shouldn't lose too much off the back of that. So G2 not giving away any more advantages, and this is exactly what they need. Now they have a window with which they can look to play a little bit more aggressively, because the Rengar's not going to have his ultimate up. They can regain a little bit of vision control around the bottom half of the map, with the dragon spawning in about 20 seconds. And so the fact that they're able to prevent a successful gank from the ROX Tigers is just enough time. This is what they need, right? They just need to buy time in order to prevent ROX from getting any big advantages.
But how much time will they be able to buy? They've managed to mitigate a couple of these situations, and that's exactly what they need to do. Keep avoiding the skirmishes, avoiding the fights. Perkz heading up towards the top lane. Song
they know.
Will be there as well. Linderang already underneath the towers. Expect taking a lot of damage. Perkz now going in. Does have his Valkyrie to pull himself away. I'm not sure I would have really committed to that one, to be honest.
I think that if the setup was a little bit better, then it would have been a fine dive for G2, but the moment Perkz comes out of the brush, he sees Sangwan and he realizes, okay, we're in a 2 versus 2 right now. If we go for this dive, very risky, not worth it. So they work up towards the tower. They think that, hey, if he gets caught up by a taunt, maybe if he gets forced against that tower, maybe we can try and force something, but instead I'll just hold the Valkyrie as an escape tool and get a bit of poke down. So G2 smartly not committing to something that could have resulted in disaster.
And now when you look, oh, here we go, Trick coming into the top lane, flash taunt onto Lianderang. They want to finish this one. Collateral damage will be available, but he can't get onto Lianderang. And it is going to be Trick just walking away, can't finish the kill. It's Linderang, not Lianderang.
A similar story to game 1, where it is very difficult to tower dive with the Graves as long as you know how to play around it. And now we see the cross-map play from ROX. They know that Trick is up in the top lane, so they want to try and force the dragon in the bottom. Key is moving up very aggressively, knowing that he has the vision control. And Sven and Mithy are forced to play on the back foot. That tower is getting incredibly low as well.
Yeah, just trying to clear away the minions. And in the meantime, Songwan looking for a second Mountain Drake of the game. Will be able to find it. Another ward taken away. But now ROX posturing very aggressively in the bottom side. Mithy gets hooked, he'll be rooted, but they're looking for Sven. He's locked down by the box, and in goes Sangwan. Kitty has got claws. Sangyun gets a kill, and they're on to the tier 2.
Remember the double flash that was burnt earlier on from the gank from ROX Tigers? They take advantage of the fact that Sven and Mithy are still trying to defend this bot tower, and they collapse on them, utilizing that Gangplank ultimate so effectively to punish the bottom lane of G2, get themselves 2 towers in the bottom lane, as well as that second mountain.
Now Trick wants to go in onto Mickey. Exhaust will go down. This is going to be a trade kill. G2, they finally get themselves on the board.
Well, at least it's something regained for the side of G2. They've gained a bit of control. They should be able to push towards this mid-tier 1. So it's not an entire loss for the side of G2, but the damage has already been done. 5,000 gold difference in favor of the ROX Tigers, and now they can start making these map movements to start pressuring these other objectives.
Yeah, and oh, here we go. We've got Mithy. He's being proactive. Trick's going to come up as well. Leanderang slowed on down here, but he eats oranges, and it's K. Key wanting to capitalize, though, wanting to punish this aggressive play. G2, they've got to try and find a way out. Mithy doesn't have his ultimate. Gets slowed, but they're not going to quite follow through onto the kill.
Now Sven, he does have good positioning on the bottom tower. He should be able to return this objective. So another good play from G2, realizing where the members of ROX Tigers are on the map and trying to do what they can to make their way back into this game. And this is something that G2 have been praised for in the European LCS. Their good understanding of macro play and how to punish the mispositioning of ROX. But ROX aren't just giving up everything for free. They realize that, hey, if your AD carries down bottom, we're going to start pushing for deep vision. The control from ROX has been fantastic this game.
And now pushing up towards that top lane, they say, you know what, you take our bottom lane tier 1, we'll take your top lane tier 1. We're still 2 towers up in this trade, and we still have a vice-like grip on this mid game. Now just the mid lane is the tier 1 tower remaining for G2. Let's take another look at this play.
And you can just see how much vision control the ROX Tigers have over the bottom side of the map, which makes this play so easy because Mickey had already started moving down. G2 were fully aware of the play that was happening, but there was little that they could do about it. And this is why I bring into question why they didn't make that map movement top. If they were expecting this dive to happen, why not just trade towers early on? You know you can get the push onto the gangplank. Perhaps, yes, he does have his ultimate available, but alternatively, he's just going to use his ultimate to dive down on the bottom lane, right? So I feel like it might have been the best situation that they could have done, or the best they could have done in a bad situation, rather. Yeah. But regardless, ROX, they just continue their pressure. They've been maintaining vision control extremely effectively. And now Mickey.
Oh, Perkz has been stunned up. There's the gangplank ultimate. Stand United is going to finish on channeling and expect once the re-engage. Perkz has to be careful here how far in he goes. Mithy will be able to get in on this as well. Consume will be available. Mickey is going to be gobbled up and spat out into Perkz' open arms. Linderang has arrived. Sangyun, Kurtkol coming through. They're trying to escape, but they're not going to be able to. Perkz goes down. It's one for the Jin. And Mithy, once again, between a rock and a hard place, there's nowhere for him to go. And they will finish off yet another kill. ROX have got complete control.
A good initial response from G2, but the response from ROX is even better. They're able to net themselves 2 kills for 1. And while Mickey does go down, ROX still maintain control over the map.
Sven does manage to at least trade a tower for this. So G2, in terms of gold, they're not falling further behind at least.
We can see now this play, Perkz, he's just trying to push up the side lane. He wants to get a bit of control over the river, and he is not expecting Mickey to just be lying in wait. Fortunately, he has the Channel to provide that support, and you can already see on your mini-map, Mithy making that map movement down because they want to get the collapse onto Mickey. The problem is it's 2 tanks feeding onto the mid laner. It takes them quite a while to be able to get the kill, and at this point, ROX have already made the rotation themselves. They've been able to get the inside track in the jungle. Mithy's ultimate gets interrupted, and it results in an easy collapse for the ROX Tigers. Fortunately for G2, they realized that a lot of members from ROX were committed to the bottom side of the map, so Sven immediately starts to push down in the middle lane, and they're able to net an objective. So it's a fairly even trade, but you can still see that the gold gap is heavily in favor of ROX Tigers.
Certainly is. 5,000 is the gold lead at 20 minutes now. 7-2 as ROX have been dominant in these skirmishes, in these kind of mini team fights that we've been seeing from both squads. But definitely also aggressive, but calculated aggression. Mithy gonna face check into this bush and will be punished for it. In goes the Valkyrie though. G2 trying to capitalize on this, trying to punish. This trick goes in, a lot of damage, but exhausted. Sang-hoon goes down. G2, they've got an opportunity. Mickey will fall as well. It's a double kill for Perkz as expect once more. Key gets the play, and it will be the disengage.
G2 are able to win themselves a fight, and that is crucial at this point in the game. Being able to take advantage of the fact that this Rengar is so strong, as well as the Casio, and still coming out ahead, means massive amounts of pressure being relieved for the side of G2. Look at the vision that they're now able to reclaim around the Baron. And I don't think that ROX were at fault, it was just the way in which they executed that actual fight themselves. They missed the ultimate onto Mickey. The focus from Sangwon was not ideal. All of their attention went down onto Mythy, and that allowed Perks to get a fantastic Valkyrie off from the side, and Trick played hyper-aggressively too. The way in which G2 were able to reposition in that fight is what enabled them to come back into it. And you can see it's Mythy that's going to be checking the brush. It is Mythy that is going to be the target focus. And just look at the positioning from the rest of G2. You can see Sven, he's completely safe. Perks is able to get him from the flank. Mickey misses his ultimate completely, and then they can go for the re-engage. Because of the red carpet being laid on the floor, ROX are now the ones stuck between a rock and a hard place. They have no choice. Do we run into Sven, or do we run into Perks? They ended up falling short.
Third dragon of the game now will be a Cloud Drake, so not the most important objective if someone happens to lose out on it. But I've got to bring our eyes to the mid lane once again. We said right at the start, Perks versus Mickey. Both of these guys, super influential players. Right now, Perks is 4-1-0, whereas Mickey is 0-3. Lindarang, it's been found out, the flash will come through just to get him on out of that tricky spot.
Good punish from Mythy and Sven. Utilizing the fact that they have river control over the top side. Identify that Lindarang's just sitting in the Baron pit trying to clear out vision. And they're able to burn a flash out of him. This could be big, moving into later team fights, but it does concede control over this dragon. And while it might be the Cloud Drake, it is important to note that this is the third dragon of the game going in favor of ROX, which means that when you look towards that Elder Dragon, that's going to be a big objective, which will be very valuable towards the side of the ROX Tigers.
That is going to be a massive objective if we get to that late stage of the game. We have to remember, though, that ROX are on the accelerator pedal. Sven gets to stand united, but it is nowhere near enough of a shield. Another pick for ROX.
And it just comes back again to this fantastic vision control from the ROX Tigers. If they are playing towards one side of the map, they are always controlling vision. They are making it so difficult for G2 to make such simple map movements as Sangyun goes aggressive.
Perks and Mythy will be able to block out those shots, keeping their jungler alive, denying yet another snipe out of Sangyun, who, I've got to say, with his curtain calls, he has been on point so far this game and across this tournament. But now the siege begins on towards this mid lane. They want to finish the outer ring of towers.
It does become difficult though, Sangyun forces the flash out of Mythy. It's good that Mythy was able to get that flash, but I don't think Sangwon is down just yet.
That will pop. The thrill of the hunt, they want to go in on this one. Trick gonna get CC'd up and he will be the target, but Mythy denies that one. Key walks away on barely any HP, and Mickey won't be so lucky. He goes down. He's turned into more of a goofy.
G2 are able to punish the aggression from the ROX Tigers. Remember that the curtain call had already been used earlier on. ROX felt that they could go for the dive, but Mickey couldn't follow up on that, which means that he was left isolated to the side. He's now sitting at 0-4, and we heard on the analyst desk earlier on in the day about how his strategy is feed to win. Well, right now, he is giving an avenue for G2. Yeah, he's done the first part, but now it's actually giving an avenue for G2 to find advantages back into the game because they pushed ROX back once again. ROX are unable to take that tier 1 tower in the mid lane, and G2 are able to reclaim some of that vision control. But again, just look at the vision from ROX Tigers in the bottom half of the map. It is just lit up in G2's jungle, and it is what is enabling ROX to make so many of these great plays.
I feel like as we get later and later into this game, there's going to be more and more onus on Sangwon managing to find out Perks in these fights, because those are the two members with the most gold behind them. You've got 4, 1, and 2 on that Rengar. If he can assassinate Perks, if he can find that Corki out, that is the majority of the damage coming out from this G2 roster.
It's going to be difficult though when you've got double exhaust, you have a Tom Kench, you have the mobility from the Corki as well, especially if he's got a package under his belt.
Not to mention Stand United on top of all of that.
True, I mean, yes, ROX have done a great job being able to get these picks. But when you look into these mid-game team fights, the positioning from G2, from what we've seen so far, has often been superior. So ROX have to be very selective in how they set up their engages.
Now, both teams starting to group up. Baron, obviously now, an objective that can start to be looked at. And ROX well and truly in control of this area. But G2, they want to start the fight. They want to kick things off. Sangyun will be the target. Perks maybe has gone too deep. He's the first one to drop, but it's going to be traded for 2 kills of their own. G2 starting things off right in this one, but Linderang, he's been found out as well. Sangyun trying to get in on this one. It's Sanghwan who gets the kill. Expect hasn't got the damage. Trick can't keep up to these members, and Mickey's looking to clean up the fight. He wants Trick. Expect does trade it back, but it's 3 for 3 so far. Mithy is all on his own. He will be the 4th one to go down for G2 unless he can find some kind of miracle. And ROX just about managed to win out this fight.
G2 Esports just commit too hard to the fight. The initial engagement looked so promising for them. They were able to shut down Sangyun from the very beginning of the fight, using the package so aggressively. But then when Sven flashes in, thinking that he can clean up, that's where things start to go wrong. And you can see great utilization of the Shen ult. They're the aggressors. G2 realize they have a big spike at this point in the game, and they want to try and force it. Note that Mickey is nowhere near the fight as well, so they know they have the numbers advantage, but it is at this point, Sven is too far away from the fight. Mickey cannot provide the peel. Expect doesn't have his ultimate anymore, and that was just too aggressive because now that's one of your big damage dealers gone. Trick is left in a 1v1 against Mickey, and there's no way that he can win that. And what could have been a very prosperous fight for G2 ends up getting turned around by ROX.
Overextension and being punished for it. The story of that fight. G2 still muscling their way into this game, trying to stay on top of things, but ROX just seem to have too many guns in their arsenal. Whatever situation they're put into, they seem to be able to find the upper hand.
And I just love the back and forth fights that we're seeing from both these teams, because one of the big criticisms for ROX were, how would they perform at this event, right? Like, they have been such an up and down team during the regular season of the LCK. You never really know what you're going to get from them. A lot of it was dependent on the success of Sanghwan. Yes, he got a great start, and they continue to push that aggression. Mickey is still feeding a little bit, but you can still see his impact in these fights, right? You can still see his ability to turn these fights in the favor of the ROX Tigers. And that's what makes it so exciting, especially when you consider how proactive G2 are. Their positioning in fights is great. And if it wasn't for that slight overstep from Sven, that could have been a very different outcome.
Yeah, and an important factor as well is, while Mickey has died 4 times, he's still just about even on CS. He's 20 down, but at 30 minutes, that's not too significant. Linderang and Expect actually having a pretty hefty trade here, and Linderang's getting the best of it. He's going to get a solo kill in the bottom lane. Trick was trying to come down to help, but he was too late to the party. Now wanting to finish off Linderang, but in the meantime, the ROX Tigers are starting the Baron. Mickey, he's dead. Got to drop. Great snipe going out. Perks gets the kill. Sanghwan trying to get onto the backline. Can he finish off Perks? Yes. No. He can't go. He gets the double kill, but it's going to be swept up anyway by Sangyun. Double kill for him. These fights are so messy, but ROX stay on top.
Expect ends up dying in the 1 versus 1, but G2 are able to stop the Baron. ROX should still be able to reclaim some objectives off the back of that, but this is so back and forth. You have to criticize Expect for trying to win that 1v1 out, especially at this point in the game where the gangplank is so strong. But mad props to the 3-man unit of G2 to be able to stop that Baron, especially in a 3 versus 4. Just really good positioning and really good outplays, even though they weren't able to win the fight.
But the biggest issue G2 have is, yes, it's back and forth in these fights, but G2 always seem to lose out in the end. It's an 8,000 gold lead for the ROX Tigers at 30 minutes. There's another Mountain Drake. But the ROX Tigers don't want to start it just yet because they know that Baron is on the cards. G2, they want to force this one out. We have a classic EU Baron coming right now.
This is so risky. Look, Sanghwan, he's already right near. Trick, he stopped the jump though.
He's trying to stop things happening. Does jump back into
Can they get it?
Can they finish it? Smite is available. Trick gets it. G2, they grab the Baron, but can they survive? Ultimate from Linderang. Mithy already down in this one.
Here comes Sanghwan.
Is looking to catch them out. Sven will survive this one, and Sanghwan just about walks away. G2, they've got away with the Baron.
Trick, what are you doing? Oh, he's trying to get the cheeky ultimate. He isn't quite able to land it, but now G2 have to retreat. You can see the 2-man unit of ROX Tigers are looking to push down mid lane. They want to punish the fact that G2 haven't been able to get back yet.
ROX can't allow this to go without a trade, but I don't think they can get the tower this time. Perks going to punish them for that aggressive push. They are going to get the consolation prize of that dragon, but it is not enough of one.
What a great decision from the side of G2 to just rush that Baron down. It was a big gamble, but they made it work in their favor. Fantastic stuff. Great to see them actually make a Baron play work and reclaim some of the deficit that they were suffering.
And that was on a nice edge. That was, you know, very, very dicey territory. And Trick aggressively jumping over the back of the pit to basically go
get rid of the blast cone. He wanted to make sure that Seonghwan could not jump into that fight. But now they have the Baron. Now G2 are in a position where they can look to start sieging, but they have to be so careful. The ability for ROX Tigers to engage on these fights is so strong. They have the Rengar ultimate, they have the GP ultimate to cut off the escape routes, they have the Thresh flank. If he lands a single hook, it could result in disaster for the side of G2, and perhaps they've just used this now to buy themselves some more time. They want to complete these bigger items. They have gotten a couple of their 3-item spikes, but that doesn't mean that they feel confident enough yet to think that they can win out.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been saying, how are G2 going to stall this out? How are they going to kind of last long enough that the gold lead is negligible? The Baron buff will buy them a few minutes of solace. But is it going to be enough? Can they get anything off the back of the Baron? Can they find another objective? Or is it just literally going to be that, just a stalling tool?
Now you can see here, this was the actual disengage. And look at that spell shield from Sven, predicting the ultimate to come out from Mickey. He ends up blocking it. He does go down to the ultimate damage from Sang-Yoon. But that just shows how strong he is right now. And Seonghwan, he tries to get onto the backline. Mithy isn't quite able to escape with his teammate, and they end up picking up the double kill. And even though overall it resulted in a net loss, the fact that they were able to stop the Baron and then go and make the play themselves is what enabled G2 to come back in this. Look at how risky this is. There is full vision control. It is fully aware from the ROX Tigers this is going to happen. Trick then uses the blast cone to stop Seonghwan from being able to jump over the wall. And then watch what G2 do. They move away. We don't have time for that because G2 is sieging on the mid lane.
Yeah, the fight is kicking off once again. Key gets a triple play there. Sven's in trouble. He's got onto the back line and Trick's going to go down as well. In the meantime, the rest of G2 is falling apart. Mithy's low. Perkz manages to get one trade kill, but can he turn it into a miracle? He's going to have to. Key is there though. The CC comes down. Perkz gets a double, but it's 4 kills to ROX Tigers.
The ROX Tigers initiation tools are far too strong for G2 to be able to deal. That is an 8, 1, and 6 Jin, who is thirsty for blood. They shred through the lineup of G2, and now they're looking to take the base.
They certainly are. They're going to be able to get this inhibitor for sure. There's a long time on these death timers. Are they going to actually push for more on this one? It's going to be a risky push if they do. Expect here just to block them anyway, block everything he can.
I think ROX just have to be happy with the inhibitor. There's no need to overcommit. There's no need to risk the possibility of G2 getting a few return kills. But my word, ROX, they have no hesitation when it comes to forcing these fights. You can see Mithy has to make a hard decision between keeping his AD carry or his mid laner alive. He doesn't actually end up getting a choice, and that forces Sven into a really difficult situation where Seonghwan can just dive onto him and shred through one of the main damage dealers of G2. With nothing left, with no ability for Expect to join the fray, G2 just ran out of answers, and in a 4 versus 5, there's no way you're going to be able to break the team fighting power of the ROX Tigers.
And I mean, we saw in that fight how strong Perkz is right now. He's got 8 kills for himself. He's actually keeping the gold. He's got a slight lead, in fact, onto Mickey, which, considering how far down his team is a huge deal. Red buff actually can be invaded here. Seonghwan is going for Trick. He wants the kill on this one. The root will land, and there's the curtain call. An easy assassination. ROX, they're not giving G2 anything.
I love these plays from the ROX Tigers. Regardless of what stage in the game it is, they are always looking to control vision in the jungle and try and force picks. That is what their composition is all about. They find that single target, they rush them, they lock them down, and they use the curtain call to secure the kill. And they're just utilizing it so beautifully. Every time G2 is just slightly out of position, they end up getting collapsed upon, and ROX, with the numbers advantage, are now in a great position to continue their siege onto the base of G2.
There's a singular tier 2 up in that top lane remaining. And other than that, it's just these 2 inhibitors. G2 desperately trying to cling on to this game, but I fear they are running out of momentum.
And we have to go back to the very start of this game where things started to snowball out of control. Sung-Hwan getting that solo kill in G2's jungle onto Trick, putting him so far behind in the early game, preventing him from utilizing any of the original pushing lanes and giving ROX so much freedom because G2 had to play on the back foot. They had to play scared against Sung-Hwan, who always has his ultimate ready and available, always looking for an overextended member of G2 to pounce on and suddenly start snowballing. And I could give nothing but praise to the ROX Tigers in which they've maximized their utilization of vision and the way in which they've used this Rengar, his ultimate, the pressure has just been fantastic to watch.
I've got to say as well, there needs to be an honorable mention here for Lindarang, who is 6-0-10 right now. Huge kill participation from him. His ultimate has been pivotal in so many of these fights, and he hasn't even died yet. And let's bear in mind how much pressure Trick put on that top lane. Still survived all of those scenarios. And now is looking phenomenal. Finished his build already as well.
Now the bright side for G2 is that Sivir is pretty strong. Perks is also pretty strong on the Corki. And it only takes one team fight for G2 to claw their way back into the game. Baron and Elder Dragon are available. It would be risky for G2 to try and trade objectives, given that ROX have got themselves 4 Drakes on the board, 3 of which are mountain. So let's see what G2 try to force.
If ROX get the Elder Dragon, G2's towers will take a mere couple of mortar attacks to go down. G2, they're stuck in a really tricky spot.
Here we go.
Wants to fight. Mithy will be ulting down Lindarang. Perks has arrived as well in Mithy's map. This is going to be GA popped in the meantime. ROX are going to happily trade this kill. Do get the shutdown in the end. Expect grabbing the kill credit for himself, but ROX, once again, they have the perfect answer.
The thing is, with 3 Mountain Dragons and a Baron, this is all that ROX need to be able to siege onto the base of G2, but they've got their eyes on the Elder Drake. This could be risky and a bit greedy from the side of ROX.
If you're ROX Tigers right now, this is how you throw the game. Fighting 4v5 for Elder Dragon. G2 pushing on into the objective. 35 seconds until we see Lindarang back on the rift. And G2 will start this one off. Perks on his way in. This is going to be thrill of the hunt. We've got a big fight on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. Mithy trying to zone everybody away as the Dragon down to half HP, but still 6,000 on the scoreboard. Sven will be able to block the first shot of the curtain call. Expect down to half HP, stuns out the last spot. But it's going to be Expect solo on HP as Sang-Yoon reloads. Stand United will not save Perks. And the Dragon is so low. Trick, you've got to get this one, mate, or you will be just about
He's got no smite.
out. Doesn't get the smite. ROX have secured everything. The Baron, the Elder Dragon, the kills. ROX surely win the game.
ROX Tigers could not have had a better setup. Sven is able to get a return kill, but look at the damage that's already been done. As you were saying, Munch, the Baron and the Elder Dragon are in favor of the ROX Tigers. They have the gangplank, they have the Rengar. I don't know if G2 can defend.
Sven has got to play out of his mind right here. We saw Nuclear yesterday so close to defend the Nexus on Sivir. Sven has to live up to that as well. Charging on. Look how fast the towers go down with those Mountain Drakes. Expect he's got to try and get onto Lindarang. He's going to be the one dealing the damage, but looks like ROX, they're backing away from this one. They do not want to risk it.
G2 are able to keep their hopes alive. Mithy has respawned. He's going for the ult.
He wants to make something happen. That's exactly how you got to play, guys. We are going to see the Lantern pulling someone to safety. Lindarang as well gets a speed boost. And nothing comes of it. Mithy trying to force the fight, but can't get the target.
Oh, my word, Munch. What a tense game. 39 minutes, just coming up to 40. ROX did lose that tier 2 tower in the top lane. But look at the Drake setup. The big thing to note is how G2 gets split up. Both Sven and Perks are on the top side. They're getting zoned away by Sung-Hwan alone. This means that when G2 try to engage, they don't have their damage dealers. Yes, Expect and Mithy get onto Sang-Yoon, but he's in a 1v2 against tanks. Meanwhile, Sung-Hwan, he's able to get a solo kill down onto Perks. Big damage dealers are lost for the side of G2, and at this point, there's no way they can win the fight. Note the Trick, he doesn't have his smite available. There's no way you're going to win this smite war, and they were basically setting themselves up for failure. Yes, Sven is able to get the return kill onto Sang-Yoon, and if they hadn't got that, perhaps ROX would have won the game then and there, but they still have the Elder Dragon, they still have the Baron, and they're looking to take more from G2.
Ladies and gentlemen, this game was delayed. This game took a while to come through, but this game has lived up to the hype so far. G2 are hanging on. They are fighting tooth and nail, but ROX Tigers have them against the ropes right now. This could be down to one final team
Here comes
fight.
the ult.
ROX Tigers wanting to engage Sang-Hwan. He's been man of the hour for this team. Can he finish things off? Sang-Yoon as well. 11 kills on the Jin. The engage not going to come through just yet.
Oh, just about sending a well-written letter to one another. Dear G2, we wish to take your Nexus. To which G2 respond with, no. They're able to disengage. The Nexus does remain standing, and G2 can continue to buy a little bit more time. Both of the big buffs now have gone down for the side of the ROX Tigers. And we're now reaching that late game point. Munch, we talk about it all the time. They've now got the late game team fight. They have the ability to win out on these engages. Gold means very little once you've gotten to these 5-6 item breakpoints. But can G2 pull it off is the big question for me.
Yeah, the Elder Dragon has dropped off. Just look at the damage.
That's a big crit, mate.
3,000 damage on the crit. If that lands onto Perks, if that lands onto Sven, the team fight's over. But is he going to be able to land it? That's the question. Is he going to be able to get into a situation where he can get that fourth auto attack onto a key target?
I'm keeping my eyes on Lindrang in a lot of these fights because his ultimate is really what's deciding the way in which ROX are able to succeed, because all ROX need to do is split up G2, right? If you have another situation like that Elder Dragon was, then it becomes super easy for ROX because they rely on skirmishes. They rely on the 2v2s, 3v3s. They don't want the full-on 5v5 because there's no way they're going to be able to win it. So as long as they can continue to use these big zoning tools in the box, the curtain call, the miasma, the gangplank ultimate, the Rengar ultimate, to just divide G2, that is how they will guarantee their success. G2 just need to force through it. They need to find some hard engage, and they may have just found it.
Mithy coming up to the top lane. He's got Trick and Perks nearby, but Trick is not going to stick around.
They're not risking it.
Oh, Perks is alone. This could be really
bottom
bad.
lane.
In the meantime, ROX are pushing for the next inhibitor. We're going to see the G2 members heading back to base, though. This might be defendable, but G2, they have to play this perfectly.
Remember that G2 have the Sivir. They have wave clear for days. They are not worried about this. ROX have to find a pick, or they have to somehow force G2 away from the tower. Otherwise, there is no way they're going to utilize those 3 Mountain Drakes.
The tension here is killing me. So many times we almost have this final team fight of both teams back away. Both teams want the perfect scenario. They can't afford anything less. G2 just desperately trying to protect themselves from these supers, but the inhib will be up soon.
Death's Dance now completed for Sven. He just wants to make sure that he can't get bursted out by the Rengar, who is now working his way to what I can only imagine will be a Dustblade of Drakthar. But you can see now, reaching these item breakpoints, it means very little for either team. The gold difference, 14,000 in the favor of ROX Tigers. G2 don't care. Like, sure, you can keep stacking up your gold, but you're not going to be able to buy a 6th or 7th Bloodthirster, are you? No, you cannot.
They're going to be able to buy a 6th or 7th Mickey. Maybe Mickey's been found. Mithy trying to finish this one off, trying to get his 3rd stack. The taunt will go through, but Expect's all alone on this one. There's no support from the rest of his team. Sven has been found out by Sang-Hwan. He does survive the fight, though. Mithy flashing away from this one. Everybody's still alive for G2, but health bars are blinking. Expect will drop curtain call to finish off the engage. They want Mithy, and they might just be able to find him. That's going to be a death sentence, more like a death paragraph. The inhibitor will fall.
ROX Tigers, they're now 5 members to 3. Yes, G2 still have their wave clear, but I don't think they're going to be able to stop ROX Tigers as they make their way towards the Baron.
Gillette is the sponsor, FYI. But the Baron is going to be the port of call. ROX, they'll be able to pick this one up with no contestation from G2. And that is another massive objective. And we've got to talk about the fact that ROX have not lost an objective. Except for the singular Baron that G2 managed to get themselves, ROX have been in complete control of this map.
It was just G2 thinking that they had caught Mickey out of position. They thought they could get the collapse, but again, it's these zoning tools on the side of the ROX Tigers that make it so difficult for these marksmen of G2 to follow on the engages. It was only Expect and Mithy diving onto Mickey, and you think that, hey, maybe we can kill him, maybe we can get the shutdown. but there's just not enough follow-up. There's not enough damage with the double tanks. And because of that, you can't burst down the Casio. The rest of the ROX Tigers is able to provide support. And bear in mind, this is actually a 6-item Casio. She doesn't need boots. Her damage enables her to kite to days and just gradually shred through these tanks. So it was just a slight, I wouldn't even say it was a mistake. G2 just, they couldn't do anything, right? They got forced into a situation that they thought they could capitalize on that they just weren't able to.
Now with the Baron behind them, the ROX Tigers going to head down towards this bottom lane. We saw that Sven had plenty of wave clear. He could keep this stalled forever. Teleport coming in. G2, they don't want to even see the siege happen. They want to force this fight. Sangyun is going to be engaged on by X. Double taunt on both of the carries, but no follow-up. They go onto Key instead. Redemption, but Sven gets consumed by Mithy. Can they keep the AD carry alive? He's going to be able to spit him out, but he has gone down in the end. Sangwon gets another one. It's Yoon with the triple kill. Perks, he's the last man remaining for G2 as ROX barrel into the base.
ROX Tigers, they take everything from G2 as they go for that final desperation fight, but that's all it was. And now G2, they're going to lose game one.
This is going to be the Nexus falling. Perks can't even survive this one. This Sangyun wants yet more kills, 15-2 and 10, as ROX Tigers win game one against G2.
Woo, what a game.
What a game. 47 minutes.
That was some great League of Legends. I am very impressed with the way in which the ROX Tigers played that game. Excellent usage of the Rengar, excellent usage of vision control, and just fantastic way of just constantly finding picks, forcing skirmishes, never falling prey into the full 5v5. But then G2, they did not go down without a fight. They made that Baron play. They were able to hold on to the line. They tried to find opportunities to fight. But the way in which ROX just constantly split them up and prevented them is what enabled ROX to close out the game and secure game one.
Yeah, that is going to be game one, going the way of ROX. Phenomenal play from them. But you've got to give a little bit of praise to G2 as well. They were the ones trying to keep that game going. They kept on finding their way back in. It was ROX that took it in the end. We're going to go to a